So I'm looking down at my monitor, my continuous monitor, and it's saying 60 what my blood sugar is. And that's actually pretty good because I am 69 hours, right? I'm in the 60s, 69 hours into the fast for this week. And I am feeling excited. I'm feeling energetic. I'm feeling actually pretty good. That's what we're doing. I'm fasting for 72 hours, and we're going to be breaking the fast here in just a couple of hours. But just get a chance to come and hang out with you. I'm so excited. Hey, if you're new to me, I'm Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here on the channel, I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. And in this year, new you. If you are new to me, I am working to help adults with type 2 diabetes to put their diabetes in remission, get off diabetes medications, to improve their metabolic health, in fact, to help reverse their diabetes. That's what we're doing right here on Dwain Woode MD Live. If you're new, go ahead and put new in the comments because I'd love to welcome you with a hand clap and some music and let you know that I'm happy that you are here, excited that you're in this space. If you've got questions, go ahead and drop those into the comments, into the chat. Put a Q in front of them, and we'll be happy to get to those as we get through the show. Here we are on Friday. We normally do our run through of fasting, right? A review of fasting. How do we get into the fast? How do we prepare for the fast? Make it through the fast, and then of course, how do we break the fast? And I've got right off to the side what I'm going to be breaking my fast with, so I'll show that to you. We won't be, well, maybe if we break it early, we might eat it right here on the show, but we'll see. We're heading to 72. We're heading to 72. And if you have been with us, you know how we do. And if you don't, you learn. I've got right here with me my monitors, my glucose monitors that we're looking at. And then right below, I've got my continuous glucose monitor from my Dexcom Clarity report. And we'll kind of look through that and you get to see what my blood sugars have been doing here as we've been fasting for the last several days. If you've not done so, make sure you get over to our channel, Dwain Woode MD Live, and there are so many shows that we've done, but one of the important series that we've been doing over the last several weeks is talking about the COPE model, C-O-P-E, the COPE model. That is the mechanism that we're using to help us move through those triggers that we have as it relates to food. Okay, so we've done several shows on that. Make sure you get there and make sure you watch those. But like I said, I'm happy that you are here, whatever platform you're joining us from, whether that be Instagram or Twitch or LinkedIn or YouTube, of course, here, and then, of course, on Facebook. We are streaming to all 5 platforms. So right now, thank you for joining. And I do see some of our community members out there, so let me hop over and say hello. Let's see, let's grab this one. And we see Jennifer is saying howdy all. Let's see, how do I get that top one? Yeah, howdy all from Jennifer right there at the top. And then Steve is saying hello, Jennifer. And hello, Steve. Thank you guys for stopping through and hanging out with us. So wherever you're joining us from, thank you for coming through. If you don't see somebody that you invited or somebody that should be here, go ahead and send them an invite and say, hey, there's this thing going on right now that you got to see, you got to join us. Okay. All right. Well, so let's jump into it. Let's jump right into it, because the important thing for us to know, or the question that you may be asking, is what are we doing? Why are we fasting? What is this all about? And so our New Year, New You process, right? That's the path that we've been on. And the goal that we've been working towards is to help reverse diabetes. And you heard me talk about that at the beginning, at the top of the show, right? So adults with type 2 diabetes who want to reverse their diabetes, put their diabetes in remission, get off of diabetes medications, improve their metabolic health. That is the path that we're working through. And in the path of doing that, in the process of doing that, we've learned several tools. We've learned emotional intelligence, how to be mindful in our eating, how to create a meal plan, right? So we've walked through all of those, and one of the powerful tools that we've learned is the tool of fasting. And fasting is important because it hits all of the pillars, and there are 3 pillars that we've talked about. It hits all 3 pillars when it comes to reversing diabetes, decreasing our insulin, suppressing the appetite, and then, of course, reducing sugar. And because it is so powerful, we've been using that as one of the mechanisms. Notice I keep saying one of the mechanisms that we have in our toolbox that we can pull out to help us in the process of improving in that space. And so here, what I've been doing over the course of our journey is a fast, and I've been doing a 72-hour fast. There are a couple weeks that we did a 48-hour fast. Like one week I went away with some friends, and the fast fell right in the space when we were going away, and so I did a 48-hour fast instead of a 72. A couple weeks I did 96-hour fasts. One week I actually did a 106-hour fast. So, and the reason I'm going through that is because I want you to understand that fasting is a tool, right? It is not the end all. It is not the be all. It is not the holy grail, but it is a powerful mechanism that you can use to help improve your metabolic health. And in this space, metabolic disease, we're talking about diabetes. Why do I keep saying metabolic disease and diabetes? Because diabetes is the prototypic metabolic disease. So if you saw that the slide that I had at the bottom there, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, polycystic ovarian syndrome, obesity, and of course, all of those things, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and coronary artery disease, all of those are disease processes that fall under the umbrella of metabolism. And so the tools that we're learning, yes, they are great for diabetes. In fact, we are promoting them in this space as mechanisms that help you reverse your diabetes. But because diabetes is the prototypic metabolic disease, then all the things that we're learning for diabetes can be extrapolated and learned and done and help with those other disease processes as well. In fact, there are several others that are not even listed there that you will find that you can apply apply these processes to. And so, like I said, fasting is one of those tools that we are using, and it's been an amazing tool for several people. In fact, one of the reasons I love fasting, and let me, when it's time for me to fast, I get excited. I do. You know why I get excited? Because I have a tool now that I feel I can control. I can put it down when I don't need it, and I can pick it up when I need it. If you've followed me, you know a little bit of my history. And if you haven't, go back and watch it. Right? My history of struggling with diabetes, to manage diabetes as the guy whose job it is to help other people manage diabetes. That's right, me. Struggling with weight as the guy who was learning at the time to help people manage their weight. I remember when I was leaving my residency, before I went to fellowship, one of my faculty members said to me, she said, Dwain, we're concerned about you. Because I was topping at the time about 265, 270 pounds. And if you've seen, you know that I eventually topped 285 pounds. And just a little less than a year ago, I reached my goal of 188 pounds, right? So 52 pounds in 1 week. Sorry, not 1 week. 52 pounds in a year. So 1 pound a week. And so when I am approaching my fasting window, I get excited because the noise, the food noise goes away. I don't have to worry anymore about what I'm going to eat. I'm not eating, so it's not an issue. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as we get into the review. But fasting is this tool that we can use. And as I have been walking this path with you, and as I prepared to go down this path, I anticipated that there were people that were finally going to be in the space that I found myself. A space where I felt like there was something that finally I had a handle on that I could use. A space where I did not have to feel restricted in the food that I ate. I did not have to feel as though I was in a box. And I got to make the decision about what I ate, when I ate, and I got to see the results that I expected. Often, one of the most frustrating things for a lot of people is that they are expecting a particular result. They're expecting eventuality, and they're doing the things that they think they should be doing and that people are telling them, and they're not getting the results. And so they give up. And for a while, I found myself in that space because the way that we manage diabetes is effective for getting those blood sugars down. In fact, I can bring anybody in the office, and if we work together, I can bring the blood sugar down in our traditional manner, but it does not fix the underlying problem. And the issue is that the underlying problem is an insulin problem. It's an insulin, a hyperinsulinemia, if you will. Too much insulin. And when we have too much insulin, it causes lots of downstream problems that we have not been addressing. And so fasting is a tool that allows us to be in a space where we get the results we want, that we are in control of how we do it. We pick it up, we put it down when we need it. In fact, when, was it a couple weeks ago, we went away, right? It was fall break, and we took a trip. And I went away, we went away on the trip, and on the trip, of course, you know, you're eating things that you normally would not eat. You know, we went to DC, and we did we took a tour of the White House. We did the Capitol tour. You know, we went to Washington Monument, the Lincoln Monument. We went to the Black History Museum. And in all of those spaces and outside of those spaces as we were there, we ate differently than we ate at home, right? Because I was enjoying the place where we were. And so when I came back home, normally I start my fast on the Tuesday, right? So we fast from Tuesday to Wednesday. That's 24 hours. Wednesday to Thursday, 48 hours. Thursday to Friday, right? 72 hours. But that week I started the fast as soon as I got home. Right? So once again, not restricted. I was mindful of what I was eating. I didn't eat the things I knew or as much as I normally ate, but I ate differently. And that showed up in my blood sugar. I think we showed some of that. It showed up in an increased weight. And so when I came home, I grabbed my tool. It's like when something falls off the wall, right? You don't just leave it on the floor. What you do is you grab whatever tool you need. If it's a nail, you grab a hammer. If it's a screw, you grab a screwdriver. Right? If there's a hole in the wall, now you got to get, you know, a piece of sheetrock and cut the hole and, you know, put the tape and put the mud and you got to clean over it. And then you put the nail back in it or the anchor back in it. And so fasting is the tool that we've been using to help us through that process. So we do a review to help us figure out or help us realize how we can be successful in the fasting space. Oh, I see we got a visitor hanging out with us. Hey, let me pop that. Hey, Colin, what's up, man? How are you doing? Hey, this is one of my guys. We're about to go eat some stuff here in a little bit. So let me see. Let me grab this so I can put that comment up. And he says I need to get excited about fasting. Hey, man, thanks for coming through. Right, definitely. Fasting, amazing ability to do for us what we could not do before. So as I get to the fasting window, I get excited. Okay? And I get excited because it simplifies the process for me. The COPE model that we talked about, right? Clarify, observe, pause, process, pick, and execute. That becomes much simpler in fasting. In fact, I'm able to exercise and practice that model during fasting because I no longer have the buffering, right? So food is my buffer. Let me just put that out there, right? Well, one of my buffers. Right. So food has been the thing that I've used over the years. It has been the companion that's gotten me through lots of things. In fact, when I was in medical school, when I was in residency, when I was stressed, I remember one of the cardiologists here in town, a friend of mine, who was in school with me when we were students, right? And I would run over. Well, we both ran over. I would run over to the cafeteria over at Children's down in Birmingham, and I would get a biscuit and I'd get some gravy and get an orange juice. And he said, "Man, if you're not careful, you're gonna get diabetes." Right? But it was the thing that I used, and a lot of us, the buffering behavior that we default to is food, because food is the last socially acceptable vice. Pretty much everything else we've curtailed, and we've got processes, we've got interesting social things that we say about them, but in food, yeah, you can call yourself a food connoisseur, right? I'm a foodie. Yeah. And that's good. People applaud that. But we know that if we are not careful, then we set ourselves up for lots of metabolic disease downstream, and that is what we are working on. How do we correct that? How do we reverse it? And how do we live healthily? A point also is what I want to say. For you who are looking at this, you're watching this, and you're thinking in your head right now, man, that means I'm not going to be eating for what, 16 hours, 18 hours, 24 hours, whatever it is. I want to say to you that a lot of the angst that may be coming up is because it's new. Because you've not done it, or you've done it in a way that has not set you up for success the next time you did it. Right? You basically fingernailed it through that time you did it. Right? And you had all the symptoms, all the complications of when we talk about fasting. And so your body's saying to you, your brain is saying to you, no, we're not doing that again. And because we're used to eating so frequently, the thought of not eating for an extended period of time frightens us. It gets our blood pressure up. Our cortisol level goes up, right? And so we begin projecting a story into fasting that should not be there. And because of that, it becomes difficult to fast. But our plan here, our goal, is to help elucidate fasting so that you can see what's going on in the body, so that you can understand how the body works, so that you can know that it's something that you can do and you can do it successfully. All right? All right. So that's the backdrop. That's where we are. That's what we're doing. And anytime you are doing anything that you want to improve, that you want to be able to evaluate to see if it's working and how it's working in your body, you want to make sure that you are doing a check-in with yourself. I got a text from someone just this week saying that they were fasting, and I sent back the text that said, make sure you're checking with how you're feeling physically, mentally, and emotionally, because that's where people tend to have the difficulties. And so that's what we're going to be doing right now. We're going to check in. How am I doing physically, mentally, emotionally? Remember, I'm 69 hours. Actually, over 69 hours now into the fast, approaching the 72 hour. We're in the final stretch. We're in the final hours of the fasting. And so how am I doing? How am I feeling? What's going on in my body? And so physically, the big thing that people talk about when it comes to the physical part with fasting is energy, right? They feel like the energy levels are dipping, that the energy levels are dropping, they're going down. They feel lightheaded, dizzy, sweaty. They may feel palpitations. And right now, I'm not feeling any of those. Um, I've done a good job. I was going to say excellent, but I did a good job this week of making sure that I got good rest. And that's where often the difficulty comes when it comes to fasting and energy, is that if you come into the fast without rest, then it sets you up for a difficult time. And of course, I'm getting into the discussion now, but fasting. So I'm feeling good. I'm feeling energized. I got good sleep last night and the night before and the night before. So this week, right? And you guys know that the last several weeks I've been doing a poor job of that, but this week I did a good job, and so energy level I'm feeling good. Mentation. So the thought process goes along with the how you're feeling physically. Because if you're tired and drained, right? If the body doesn't have what it needs, then your mentation is difficult. You feel sluggish, you feel dull, you feel sometimes like you're walking around in a bubble. And right now I'm feeling clear. I'm not feeling delayed in my thought process, delayed in my speech. I'm feeling energetic. And then, of course, emotionally, I think I mentioned on our show last night when I did a check-in that I had just come out of our community meetup, and I did a show last night. And I'll tell you, I've said this before. When I finish doing a show, if you walk over and you get a light bulb and you screw it into my mouth, it probably will light up. That's how much energy I get from being in this space and talking and engaging and listening to you. And because when I do that, not only do I see the benefit and see the light go on and see the successes that you've had, but you get to support me as well in my space. Because remember, we're walking through this thing together. In the office, I tell people all the time, the struggle is real. The fight is real. Right? I shared in our community meetup last night. Should I tell on myself, Steve? Steve was there. He knows where I'm going with this. So um so in our neighborhood, they bring the kids out, right? So like yesterday was the 31st. So they bring the kids out. Our neighborhood is one of the neighborhoods that they've designated where they bring everybody through and the kids are going around. So I was doing my show during the time when everybody was out. And at our church, they had fall festival. So our kids went out and they were at the church. And so not to be the house in the neighborhood that doesn't do anything, that doesn't give out stuff. So we got a basket, and my wife went and she bought candy and so forth. And so I came home and I didn't see any of the candy. But I'm like, wait a minute, there should be some candy, something in here, a Snicker bar, a lollipop, something. And so I looked outside, and the basket, she had put the basket out. She had made, little baggies, and she'd put, 4 or 5 things in each baggie, and she'd zip them up. She'd put it there, and she had a little note that says, please take one. Right? So it was out for everybody to come and grab whatever they needed. Of course, I heard the kids out there because I was on the show talking to our folks in the community, and I heard some of the kids saying, "You're only supposed to take one." Right? So I imagine that there were people out there grabbing a bunch of them. Well, before they showed up, because I came home getting ready to do the show or getting ready to do our community meetup, so I went out and I grabbed a couple of bags. That's right, I did. I said it. And in the bag there were Snickers, lollipops. I'm not sure, Milky Way, some other stuff in there. So anyway, so that's my thing, right? So what I tell people is that your job is not to not feel and to not have a craving or have your appetite stimulated. That's not your job. Because if that's what you're looking for, if that's what you're waiting for, we're failing miserably, because it's going to happen. It's like you can't avoid getting frustrated at things. You can't avoid disliking things. But our goal is to, despite all of the things that happen, for us to carve a path through this journey that sets us up for metabolic success. Okay? So energy-wise or emotionally, I'm pumped. I'm excited. Glad. And of course, you're here. So boom, there we are. All right. So let's hop over and let's take a look at my blood sugars. And as you know, we have several ways that we look at that. The first is that I have my monitors that we're going to take a look at here. This is my Keto Mojo. This is my Contour. Keto Mojo gives me blood sugar and ketones. Ketones are very important for what we do. And then my Contour that just gives me blood sugar. So let's go ahead and grab a strip out. Well, actually, let's do this first. So on the screen, you should see this is my Libre. And the Libre says right now my blood sugar is 60. If you look at the greenish gray bar near the bottom, near the mid of the bottom with the white squiggly line, and then at the end it has the red squiggly line, that's what my blood sugars have been. So for most of today, my blood sugars have been below 100. And then, of course, at the end there, where you see the red line or red squiggly line and the red dot, that is what my blood sugars are, and those are below 70. Okay, so all today, my blood sugar has been below 100, but for part of the day, it's been below 70. And if I look at my Dexcom, you'll see kind of a similar pattern. And this one I can actually put my finger. We can see what the blood sugars have been doing all day. So 80s early in the morning, up to a little bit low 90s, 80s, 90s, 80s, 90s. And then let's see where it dropped below 70. So it dropped, actually it went below 80. I don't see it below 70 yet. So 75, 76, 75, 74. Yeah. So for the afternoon, it did not go below 70 according to this, right? But if I look at my 24-hour, you'll see look at how flat that graph is. All right. And then here it popped up. What time was that? That was about 7 o'clock this morning. 7, 9. So probably about, yeah, between 7 and 9 o'clock. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on there. My son had a honors convocation today, so I got up, got dressed, went out. Yeah, so there we go. Okay. So anyway, so that's what my blood sugars are according to my my monitors, my continuous monitors. And no, remember I have 2 of them, one on each arm. So let's take a look now at what these guys are showing. So this is my Contour, and the brown is blood sugar for the Keto Mojo. Let's get that one in there. And the blue is the ketone, and I open that because if I don't, sometimes the drop of blood gets dry, and then I and then I have to stick myself again. And then let's get into our container and just grab a Lancet. And as you see, there are several different types of Lancets. Let me come over here. Several different types of Lancets. I've become kind of partial to this one because it's simple, and it usually gets me a drop of blood. These guys, sometimes if I don't press hard enough, it doesn't come out, and then I've got to stick myself again. So I don't want to do that. So let's not do that. All right, so here we are. And this is a twist off, so I twist this part off. And then right at the top there, you should be able to see a little needle. And just grab a finger. And I usually use the same finger all the time. If you probably can't see, but there's some dark spots right there. And that's really where I stick my finger. For those of you who are diabetics, you know that if you do that over and over and over, you can really look at your fingers and tell. In fact, I have some of my the younger folks I used to do pediatrics as well. Now we don't do much of that, but I had one guy I used to take care of, and he was on the swim team, and he would get in the pool, and when he comes out, his mom said he would kind of go off somewhere, and he would never go with the other players for a little while. And so finally we asked him what was going on, and it was that when he got out of the pool, his fingers were Oh, let me get this one in here. I'm talking and you know how your fingers get kind of pruny? That's a good word there, right? And people could tell where he used to stick his finger, and so he didn't want anyone on the team to know that he was diabetic, and so he would go off and until that kind of resolved, and then he would show back up. Okay, so you saw there that my blood sugar was around 60s on the Keto Mojo. Oh, I wasn't supposed to show you that yet. But there you have it, 2.2, right? We'll come back. We'll talk about that here in a minute, what that means. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and let's have our conversation. So whenever I talk about fasting, remember, because we want to set ourselves up for fasting success. Whenever I talk about fasting, we talk about three different things. We talk about how do we start the fast, how do we go through the fast, and then, of course, how we get out of the fast, how do we break the fast. And so let's go through that. And it's important because fasting is not just a physical thing, it's a mental and emotional thing. And so preparing for the fast is very important. If you don't prepare for the fast, you set yourself up for difficulty. Preparing for the fast is just as important as getting into the fast, which is just as important as getting out of the fast. Okay? So make sure that you are doing that. And then before we do that, let me just hop over. I see, let's go back here. And I see Colin says, he said, I'm enjoying the segment. Oh, thank you, man. Thank you. Appreciate that. All right. Yes, fasting. So preparing for the fast. So why is preparing for the fast important? So preparation is key because preparation helps you to reduce shock and reduce the complications that may come. Often, when we are not aware of something, then that thing that happens is difficult. But if we are aware, if we think about it, if we process it, if we go through what we should expect, then it's easier once we get into that thing to be able to get through. And here, we're talking about fasting. So when you, particularly if you're going into a longer fast, a more extended fast, 24 or longer, that's what we call extended fast, prolonged, or longer fasts, then it's important for you to understand how your body's going to work, for you to know how you are going to respond to the fast, respond to the things that you're going to be doing. What are you going to be thinking? How are you going to be feeling? Are there any emotional things that we need to be looking at? Right, so all that is in the process of preparation, right? It minimizes the common side effects of fatigue, headaches, and irritability. And we'll talk about the things that we do to prepare for the fast. Right here, we're talking about thought process, but we'll get into how do we prepare for the fast physically, mentally, emotionally, and so forth. But all of that is with the intention of setting you up for success, right? And when you prepare for the fast, it helps you maintain focus because when we're getting into the fast, we know what our goal is. And so I don't just rush into it, say, okay, I'm fasting today and start fasting, but I know what my goal is. Right? I've tried fasting like that before where I say, okay, I'm going to start fasting today when it wasn't planned, and I got maybe 24 hours, maybe I got 12 hours, 18 hours, but I wasn't ready. I had not prepared. And so if we're not prepared, then it becomes difficult. So mental preparation, number one. So you want to set clear goals. What are my plans? Understand why you're fasting. Am I fasting for weight loss? Am I fasting for blood sugars? Am I fasting because I want to improve some other metabolic things? Am I fasting because, I'm in a group? What is the purpose of the fast? Because when you set the purpose, when you set the goal for the fast, then when you get into the fast, if things come up, you can look back at the goal and say, okay, this is the reason I'm doing it. And there may be times when you have to interrupt the fast. Last February, for my birthday, I went to Jamaica with a bunch of friends. And we were down there, right? And I was fasting. I didn't fast the whole time, right? So I started the fast, and when we arrived, I was still in the fast. And we went to visit someone, a friend of ours, and so we got there, and we got to the house, and husband and wife, friends of both of them. And so the wife goes and she gets some drink, some juice that they had made. Right, this is Jamaica, right? And she handed me a glass, and I said thank you, and I started drinking. So I was fasting for metabolism. I was fasting for blood sugar. I was fasting to improve my health, but not at the expense, right, of being in that social setting. Sometimes, see, I'm getting ahead of myself. Sometimes the fast doesn't work because we schedule the fast during a time when it doesn't socially make sense. We set a fast on our birthday. We set a fast on our anniversary. We start a fast at the time when our family is sitting down to eat. That already sets it up for a conflict. Okay? So mental preparation. What is my goal? What is the purpose of the fast? Why am I doing this? Visualize success. Look down the road and see, okay, I'm going to be successful with this fast. What is it going to look like? What is it going to feel like as you move through the space? And then educate yourself. Research the type of fast you're going to be doing. We've talked about, 16 and 8, 1 meal a day, 5 and 2 fast. We've talked about alternate day fasting. We've talked about extended fasting, 36 hours, 72 hours, 96 hours, so many different fasts. And we did a show where we broke the fasting down based on the duration of the fast, 16-8, 1 meal a day, 72 hours. And then we did another show, a separate show, where we broke it down based on the disease processes that a particular fast is studied to have improved. Right? So there are studies on these various fasting. We also even did fasting mimicking diets. Right? So that's another way of getting some of the benefits from fasting. So research. And then prepare. We're talking about preparing mentally. Prepare yourself by having some affirmations around you. That I am fasting for 72 hours. I am improving my metabolic health. I am making a choice right now to do what I need to do to get better in this whatever area with my diabetes. On my phone, I think I've told you that I have some alarms that go off throughout the day. And it says, are you willing at this time to do what it takes to be successful? Right? That's part of my triggering the brain. Say, yeah, I'm focusing. Right? I'm focusing. So mental preparation. Nutritional preparation. Sometimes we don't successfully get through the fast, not because of the fast, but because of what we did during our non-fasting window, during our eating window. Right? We set ourselves for difficulty in the fast because of what we did then. Because we are eating highly processed, high carb things. So when we get into the fast, the body is in the process of bringing blood sugars down. And how does it bring blood sugar down? It brings it down with insulin. And remember, insulin stimulates the appetite. So if you just had something highly sugary before you got into the fast, now you're in the fast and you're going to be craving stuff. Not because you're fasting, you're going to be craving stuff because the insulin that you just stimulated or you just took to deal with the blood sugar is causing the appetite to be stimulated. So as you get into the fast, you want to make sure that you are minimizing, you're decreasing, you're reducing the carbs, you're reducing the sugars. You're increasing the fats because the fat that you've eaten, same thing for protein, when you eat it, it helps you stay fuller longer. So if you've eaten a low carb, low sugar meal that's high in fat, good fats, healthy fats, and lean protein, when you get into the fast, you're not craving because you haven't stimulated insulin, and you feel fuller for a longer period of time because you have that fat and the protein in your stomach. And then you want to make sure that you're increasing your water and your electrolytes. Most of us, if we are fasting, if you're not eating, you're also not thinking about drinking. So I've got my cup here, and you guys will see me sipping. But most of us, when we get into fasting, most of us will be dehydrated. So the goal is to make sure that you are stimulating or you're increasing your hydration and making sure you're doing the best you can do for your electrolytes before you get into the fast. That sets you up for success in the fast. And then you want to gradually reduce your eating window. So a lot of people will say, I'm fasting, and they jump into a 24-hour fast having come out of just a regular eating. Right? So what I recommend is, particularly if you're new to fasting, go ahead and start slow. So if you normally sleep for 8 hours, then add 2 hours to that, and that will be your fasting window. So now you don't eat for 10 hours. And then when you can eat for 10 hours, extend it to 12 hours. And then 14 hours, and then 16 hours, and then 18 hours, and 20 hours, and 22 hours, and 24 hours. Right? So extend it gradually so that you get used to what it feels like as you're fasting. And one of the best ways of fasting is what's called alternate day feasting or eating. Alternate day fasting. Not alternate, sorry, time restricted. My brain was on alternate date. So what that means is that you are restricting the time that you're eating, and specifically in this case, you're restricting it to the time that your body is supposed to be eating, and you're fasting during the time when it's not supposed to be eating. So typically it's aligned with your circadian rhythm. So you're eating during the day and you're fasting at night. And this is if you're doing, of course, one of the shorter fast. If you're doing an extended fast, you're fasting the whole time anyway, so it doesn't really matter. All right. So gradually. Hydration and electrolytes. You hear me talk about dizziness, lightheadedness, palpitations when I do my check-in. The reason that people will feel palpitations is if their volume in the body goes down. That is, they become dehydrated. Then what happens, in order for your body to deliver the same amount of oxygen and nutrients to the cells, it has to speed up so that the blood is flowing faster. And so you feel that as palpitations, feel like the heart's racing, sometimes even skipping a beat if you're not careful. You can drink herbal teas, chamomile tea, peppermint tea, as you're getting into the fast, right? As you're moving into the fast, because those will hydrate you, and they will also calm you, right? So all those things that we just talked about, they will calm you as well. All right. And then physical preparation. So you want to engage in light physical activities as you're moving into the fast. If you're a big bodybuilder and you do strenuous exercise, as you move into the fast, you want to kind of begin decreasing that and work your way into a light exercise or activity during the time when you're fasting. Now, if you are doing fasting workouts, that's a whole nother story. That's not what we're talking about. So there are people who actually fast so that they can work out because they are trying to boost autophagy. They're trying to boost their growth hormone because those two things set them up to get bigger muscles, faster muscles, and help them recover faster. Okay? So reduce strenuous exercise 1 to 2 days before. Aim for quality sleep. Right? We're talking about preparation physically. Remember, I mentioned that if you're not rested, then when you get into the fast and the body's switching energy levels, then you feel that like a big drop in energy. And people say, oh, the fasting doesn't work. Well, it's not the fasting per se, it's the fact that I didn't prepare well, I didn't rest well. And so now that I've come into the fast, then I feel all of those things much more pronouncedly. Or they're more pronounced. All right, begin reducing caffeine and energy drinks because those will stimulate you. You'll get withdrawal symptoms as you come into the fasting. So try to reduce those as we're getting closer to the fasting. And then prepare your environment. Now, Candy Day, people celebrated Halloween yesterday. So that happened close to the end of my fast. So I've got my 2 bags over there. Should I go grab it and show it to you? Yeah, okay, hold on. Here it is. All right, so this is what my bag looks like. Let's see. Let me change my view so you guys can see this. Boom, boom, boom. All right, here we go. There you go. There's my bag. I don't know if you can see what's in there. So there's a Snicker, there's a Milky Way, there's a Twix, and there are two Blow Pops. There you go. All right. I'm not eating those now. I'm not breaking the fast with that, by the way. That's over there. But the reason I show that is this idea of clearing your environment, right? So So one of the things that I've gotten rid of in my environment is I don't bring a lot of cashews or almonds. I'll bring some every now and then. And as you guys know, a couple weeks ago, I went out and bought a big container of them. And that was not a good idea, by the way. So set yourself up for success. If there are things in your environment that trigger you, guess what? Get rid of them. Don't have them there. I used to collect food when we first started fasting. I would collect the food that I would have eaten at the for the week, and I would bring it home. Why? There's no reason. Right? Because my brain is saying, hey, that food is there. You got to go eat it. When you break your fast, you're going to eat that. Right? So I began anticipating the breaking of the fast with these large meals. Right? Create fasting-friendly zone. That's what we're talking about. Prepare distractions. If you're doing a fast, don't do it on a day when you're just hanging at the house. Do it on a work day. Because by the time you come home, you've already, I was going to say wasted. You've already used up a big portion of that day. So think of fasting for 24 hours. Say you're fasting for 24 hours, right? Well, you sleep for 8 hours, right? Boom, done. You work for 8 hours. That's 16 hours already gone. So all you have left is another 8 hours, right? But if you fast if you're doing a 24-hour fast and you fast on a day when you're at the house, then you have the entire 24 hours left of fasting. So try to do it in a strategic manner. And then emotional and social preparation. Inform your family and friends. A couple of days ago, maybe this was not yesterday. I think it was the day before. I was having a day, y'all. I don't know. You ever had those days where you're not quite sure, you can't put your finger on it, but you're just not there? And I sent a text out to my friends. I said, hey, I need you guys to keep me in your thoughts. I need you to pray for me. I can't talk right now, but I'm having one of those days. The same thing for fasting. Send your family message. Let them know that you're fasting. Elicit someone to call you. But set yourself up for success. Right? Let your family and let them know so that they don't plan things during your fasting time, particularly if you're doing a shorter fast. If you're doing a 72-hour fast like I'm doing, right? So they and I do the fast on the days I do specifically for this reason. Right? Because I could fast any day I want, but I fast on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Because Saturday is my family time, right? Family day. So we eat dinner together on Saturday. On Sunday, I'm doing things with people at church. We're doing things with friends. On Monday and Tuesday we have our team meeting at work. So what I've done is I've carved out of my week the times that are best for me to fast. If I try to fast on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, for example, I would fail miserably. Because there's so much social pressure surrounding those days. That's when we do all of our stuff. And a lot of our stuff revolves around food. Right? So set yourself up for success. Create accountability, right? So join a fasting group. Hey, right here. Join a fasting group. Get fasting partners. Stay motivated. Stay accountable. One of the things that we're going to be working on doing a bigger job of in come the new year is accountability and the community that we have. We have a great community, but we want to get closer, tighter in what we're doing. All right? And so get lots of rest, stay hydrated. That's what that should say. Reduce the stress, and then eat nutrient-dense meals. Okay? So that's how we prepare for the fast. And then how do we get into the fast? How do we get through the fast? I usually break the fast, and you hear me keep saying 24, 48, 72 hours. I typically talk in 24-hour periods. But when we do the review, I kind of break it up a little more finely. So 0 to 6 hours, for example, when you stop eating, that is your postprandial phase. The body is now just absorbing the food. Blood sugars are high. Insulin levels are high. Energy levels high because the food just came in. And your body's just breaking it down, and it begins to absorb it from the food that you ate. The 6 to 12 hours, this is the early fasting phase. So now the body is absorbing the food into the cells, or putting it into cells, has already absorbed it. And so the blood sugar levels begin going down. Insulin levels are starting to drop. And glucagon is now coming out. Because remember, glucagon and insulin are opposite hormones. When insulin is high because there's food, glucagon is low. When insulin goes down because your blood sugars are going out, glucagon goes up because it's going now and pulling sugar and food out of the liver, right? So glycogenolysis is happening, is breaking down from the liver the stored carbohydrates that were put in there. And energy levels may begin to fluctuate as the body is now thinking about switching to a different energy source. There's a transition period. Right? We're transitioning fat. As the body is using up the energy that came from the food that you just ate, we're beginning now to see a little bit of burning of fat as we move into this period. Energy levels may dip, and this is where sometimes people will feel that dip in energy that I talk about. They feel it here because the body is beginning to start to think about transitioning. People get irritable. They get hangry during this period, particularly if they have not done a good job of being eating nutrient-dense foods. All right, so this is the place if they have not done a good job, they begin feeling that right here. And then 18 to 24 hours, ketosis is beginning. That's right. We're starting to see ketones go up because the body is becoming more and more reliant as the sugar and the glycogen, the glucose sources are being used up. The body is now beginning to use fat in earnest to give us energy and to keep our bodies running. Autophagy is beginning. Autophagy kicks up. Oh, it actually began already, but it's revving up right now. Remember, autophagy is that amazing process that the body has of reclaiming, recycling broken, damaged, unused parts of itself, and it's reclaiming those, it's taking it off, and it's recycling it, and then it's bringing it back to create new parts. This is where cellular repair happens. This is why we talk about improved immunity, because the body's gobbling up all the toxin, gobbling up all the damaged cells. This is where this idea of cancer treatment from fasting comes from. Yeah, right here, right? Once again, because the body's gobbling up those cells that may turn into cancer. When we fast, they've shown that people respond better to some chemotherapy treatments because of fasting. Right? Autophagy, all that process. The neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, this is what causes the improvement. Okay? So all of that happens with autophagy right here in this space. And then the 24 to 36 hour period, or 24 to 30 hour period, fat adaptation, which is the body now in earnest is burning fat and is using ketones as energy. So we get stabilized energy, we get stabilized mentation, we get clarity, we get focus that we didn't have before. And through this process, by this time now, the cravings have gone. Or should be on their way gone. Let me say that. Right. Here's a point to be made also. The craving that you have during fasting is a lot related to what you ate prior to fasting. So if you ate a high carb, high sugary food, right, that has to get stored in the liver, that has to be processed, the blood sugars have to come down. All those hormones can cause stimulation of appetite. So now that it took you a little longer to get into this space, and you've had cravings, not because of fasting itself, but because of what happened prior to fasting. Okay, fat adaptation. And so, like I said, it's not just important how you start the fast, how to prepare, how you get into the fast, but also how you break the fast. We can undo a lot of what we did in the fast by what we do right here. The thing that you break the fast with is probably going to be the thing that you eat for the next 24 to 36 hours until your body until your brain takes over. Because the moment you put something that's highly carb saturated, something highly processed in your mouth, the hormones come out. And when those hormones come out, they have a mind of their own. And they're stimulating appetite. They're stimulating fat storage. They're causing weight gain. And you want another piece of candy. You want another piece of pasta. You want another piece of pizza. You want another juice. You want another soda. And it takes a while for the brain, if you've not practiced the COPE model, here it comes again. If you've not practiced, it takes a while for that prefrontal cortex to overcome the amygdala. So as you're getting into breaking the fast, you want to be cautious in what you do. All right? So don't sit down and have a huge, 7-course meal that's full of here we go, right? So how do we break the fast? Here are some tips. Number 1, monitor blood sugars. So important. Anything that you're going to do, anything you want to know if it's working, anything that you want to change and be able to adapt and be able to pivot and adjust, you got to monitor. And so I recommend that everybody, if you're dealing in the metabolic space and you're interested in how your body's responding to stress, to sleep, to exercise, to food, you want to be able to monitor. So go out and get a glucose monitor. Okay. If you want a continuous monitor, there's one on the market, an over-the-counter one, another one that's coming out. I think I did a show, I did a show on the Stello, which is a continuous monitor. Or you can go to Walmart and any of your stores and get a monitor. Okay. I like the continuous ones because I don't have to prick my finger. The only reason I prick my finger is because I want you guys to know what my blood sugar is compared to the others. And sometimes if I look at a number and say, well, that doesn't make sense, I'll check my finger. I'll do a finger prick. So monitor. Portion control. Oh, this is a good one. And this is one that I have to be cautious with because my diet is healthier. Right? Balanced bites. Remember, balanced bites is what we're doing. And so in my brain, there's that part of my brain that says, hey, because this is healthier, I can eat more of it. Right? So you got to be cautious with that portion. Portion control. Make sure you're maintaining good portions. Eat slowly. When you're breaking the fast, the temptation is going to be to just shovel it in. But if you do that, you're going to end up eating more because you're really not tasting, you're not feeling, you're not enjoying. And so the body's going to say, give me more and keep giving me more. And if you do that, you're not going to stop eating until your belly is swollen. And by then, guess what? You've overeaten. And then avoid sugary processed foods. And this is what I just talked about. What you break the fast with will be the thing that you're breaking or eating for the next 24 to 36 hours if you're not careful. Hydration. So just like we talked about hydration to prepare, and I didn't mention in the fast itself, make sure that you are hydrating throughout the fast. Because we're not thinking about eating, we're not thinking about drinking either. And then when we break the fast, of course, you want to make sure that you're hydrating. So water. Did I say water? Yeah, water again. Coconut water, unsweetened, of course, because once again, don't want to cause a big spike. And then, of course, herbal teas are good. They calm you, and they're good as well. I try to maintain. Well, we'll talk about this here. I try to maintain some ketosis even after I break the fast. So I try to eat things that won't cause a big spike. When we first started, remember I was eating beans and cheese and nuts. And I was seeing huge spikes in my blood sugar. So I had to kind of deal with that. So proteins, right? Breaking the fast with proteins, eggs, chicken, turkey, tofu, tempeh. Remember, proteins help you stay fuller, longer. So you end up eating less. You feel satiated so that you're not having those big cravings. And then fat, healthy fats, avocados, nuts, great for fat. Right, I've got to be careful with the nuts because, that's my thing. And then, of course, seeds like chia seeds and flax seeds and so forth. And they're full of omega-3. And then broths are good. Vegetable broth, or if you are vegetarian, vegan, vegetable broth if you're vegetarian or vegan, or bone broth. And you guys have seen me use bone broth to break my fast here on the show. And then some considerations. When you're breaking the fast, choose foods that help you maintain stable blood sugars, that won't stimulate the appetite, that are nutrient dense. So you want low glycemic index, and low glycemic index are those foods that have glycemic index of 50 or less. You want to use lean protein, healthy fats, and make sure that you are hydrating well. Okay? And so for this point, I want to pull up this concept of balanced bites. Balanced bites. And what balanced bites is when you're thinking about the food that you're eating, the bite, every bite counts. And so we want to make sure that we're putting in the things that are setting us up for success. So minimize processing, minimize added sugar, lean protein, healthy fats, some starchy vegetables, some non-starchy vegetables, the appropriate portion size, something that's tasty, right? So those are the criteria for balanced bite. So when you're eating that bite counts. People say, oh, that doesn't, yeah, it all matters. And so you want to set yourself up for success by continually eating balanced bites that are fueling your body. Because those balanced bites fuel the body. Balanced bites. Remember that idea. Balanced bites. Awesome, awesome. All right, so I love being in this space. Remember, as we are talking about fasting, there are some things that are going to push us. There are going to be some triggers. The triggers are our habits, our emotions, the access that we have to food, and the taste. The habits, the routines that we've gotten into, where it's lunchtime, so we eat even though we're not hungry. We see the family get up. We see our coworkers get up, and they're going somewhere. And we're like, okay, it's lunchtime. Somebody comes to visit you from out of town, and you go to the coffee shop, and you eat donuts, and you have something to drink. You're not hungry, but we've gotten into the habits. We go to the movies, and we eat popcorn just because that's what we do. The emotions that we have will push through our decisions to not eat certain things. It's kind of like a roller coaster. When that car gets to the top, it doesn't matter what you do up there. You could jump and scream and shout, but that car is coming back down. And so same thing when our emotions get high, when we're stressed enough, when we're angry enough, when we're lonely enough, tired enough, bored enough, frustrated enough. When that emotion gets up here, it's coming through, and it's going to push you to eat when you've made a decision that there's something you're not going to eat. And then, of course, access. Having things around, right? Having things around, not a good idea if they're triggers. That's my alarm going off. Okay, which one of these? Okay. And then taste. The taste, the perfect combination of fat, sugar, and salt. So that when we eat it, we can't just eat one. That's what the manufacturers want. And the taste that we have, it's not the food that we're chasing after. We're chasing after what it does for us, the calm that it brings over us, the thought process that it brings, the memory that it brings back of that time when we ate that thing at that place, when we felt that way with that person. Right? So all of that. So habits, emotions, access, and taste. Remember, you have unlimited potential to change your destiny. You can chart the destiny of your health from this moment going forward. There are things you've done in the past. There are mistakes that we've all made. There are some health consequences that we have right now that we're living through. But at this moment, you can make a decision about what you're going to do into the future. Because you have unlimited ability. And we tap into that by the Triple E formula for success. We educate, we empower, and we encourage. We educate here with the shows, with the blogs, with the podcast. All of that is with the intention of changing the mindset, of giving you information so you look at things in a different way. We empower with the tools that we're learning, right? That's what the challenges are. Every month we have one. You get to practice the things, right? So we're empowering. So something on paper, the thought on paper is just a thought on paper, but it does not get life until you take action. And then we encourage with the community that you're building, that you're helping to build, that you are part of. The triple E formula for success. We educate, we empower, and we encourage. Remember our pillars for reversing diabetes: decrease insulin, suppress the appetite, and reduce sugar. And that's why we love fasting, because fasting hits all three of those pillars. And then our call to action to you is this: when you come, when you show up, when you watch the video, join in and do the challenges. You could be watching this video in a totally different month, in a totally different year, but that doesn't mean that you've missed it. Start right where you are. Join the challenges. The challenges are with the intention of helping you to implement the things that we're learning. And then tell your story. Say what's going on, how successful you are, what benefits you're seeing. You've lost weight, your blood sugars are better, your cholesterol is down. They've taken you off of some medications, like some of our community members. Right? People are fascinating with the benefits that they're seeing. When I go to my doctor, I saw him a couple weeks ago. He said, "Well, and so you're not taking anything?" I said, "No, nothing." Right? Share the successes. And when you have places where you're struggling, like I did a couple of days ago, right? Let us know. Reach out to community. I sent a text and I got some messages back from my friends. They're like, "Hey, we're praying for you. Hey, we got you in your thoughts." Somebody called me. Okay? We get to know that we're not alone, and we get to support you so that you know that you're not alone. And then invite a friend. There are over 1 billion people on the planet right now who have diabetes or prediabetes. You can be a voice of change in your family, in your community, at your church, in your doctor's office. You can say to people in your family, we don't have to keep having heart attacks. We don't have to keep having amputations or go on dialysis. We don't have to keep having strokes. We can improve our metabolism. We can improve our health. We can reverse our diabetes. And you get to be a voice to make that change. Always, always, always excited. And as you're thinking about what you're going to eat prior to fasting, during a fast, after a fast, or just generally on your non-fasting days, remember that every bite counts. And you want to be implementing balanced bites into your life, into what you do. There you go. I always say that I'm excited to be in this space with you, and I am, because I get to hang out with you. I get to see successes. We get to talk. Join us for our community meetups. If you've not been with us before, we enjoy that. We're going to be extending some of that as we go into the future. Tomorrow at 9 o'clock p.m., we have videos from the vault, 9 p.m. Central. On Sunday morning, we have This Week in Review at 6 a.m. And then we're right back here on Monday at 7 p.m. Central for Dwain Woode, MD. Make sure you join us for all of those. And as I always say, this is Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here on the channel, we educate, we empower, and encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. And in this year, new year, new you. Good night, everybody. Have a great weekend.